Welcome to the Intercut Awards, the yearly show going over the best craftspeople, actors, and films that you can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, the Diane Warren of betting on the Oscars, it's Arturo Zurita.
I wish at least all those nominations coming in, but while the Oscars like to nominate a lot of different movies, and throughout the year there's a dozen and dozens of awards, we figured why not add our own to the mix? Why not spice it up and have our own little categories, have our maybe off-kiltered nominees that we may have, and bringing it together to see what gets the Intercuties Award. What are the best stunts of the year that don't get honored? What are those performances that go underseen but really are some must-watches that should be on your radar? So we've been working on this list. We've combed through every single movie. Y'all know we go to festivals. We stream practically from every service. Mm-hmm. We go to the craziest
theaters. We're watching
theaters.
more movies than an Academy member.
Combined sometimes, but yeah, we have a lot of picks to come to you, and hopefully we're able to put something on your radar that could become your next must-watch.
Exactly. We figure that there's enough complaining about the Oscars out there. We're going to do something about it. We're giving your own spin on a year-end awards, talking through all the different feats in cinema that stood out to us and made it onto our must-watches for the year 2021. So we've got a bunch of categories to get through here and a lot of people and films to talk about. What better way to start it off with the short films, the best achievements in movies, 40 minutes or less, often shunted category that did not make it to the Oscars broadcast this year. But we try to talk about the short films when we get a chance to, because there's so many great ones that pop up, from festivals to now popping up on a lot of streaming services too.
Beautiful.
HBO Max doing a pretty great job of giving you some Oscar contenders, Netflix as well. Art, why don't you kick us off with your must-watch short films of 2021?
For my top 5 short films of 2021, I begin with You're Dead, Helene, the horror comedy about Maxine living with the ghost of his girlfriend, who's decided she doesn't want to break up with him. A high recommendation that I have if you're looking for something that's a little bit off-kiltered. Some of the other ones that I have would be Navozande the Musician, which is what I'm still calling it, a beautifully drawn animated short about two lovers separated for decades until he's called upon to perform at a castle. A beautiful film that I believe you could stream over on Paramount at the moment. Then there's Coded, another one over on Paramount. That's a short doc about illustrator J.C. Leyendecker, who excelled at marketing ads but mastered those hidden messages he was putting in his drawings. A beautiful, beautiful documentary that I loved when we caught back at the festivals, and now you can stream it at home. But my number 2, I was almost getting hyped there because it is my number 1 from a recent festival, is Censor a Dreams, a fantasy, horror, mystery, drama of a short that follows a team of censors responsible for shaping the memories of Yoko and making sure that things don't get turned inside out. My number 1, Zach, is actually a movie, a little short film that I saw at TIFF years ago. And people have been asking me, when is this coming out? And finally, Exam is out on YouTube. A drama thriller following a teen who gets involved with a package delivery that goes completely wrong. Those are my top 5 picks for the best shorts of 2021.
I remember you telling me about Exam on Yonge Street or something like that in Toronto.
Yeah, finally out there.
My best short films from 2021 start with When We Were Bullies, the recently Oscar-nominated short film, kind of a trip through memory lane, but pieced together with some animation. It's very, very nicely done. The Musician, also on my list,
beautiful.
Like yours, a beautiful short film. Robin, I kind of liked this latest Aardman adventure. It's got a very sketchy kind of style, not quite like the claymation you're used to from them, but very charming and a good one for young children. I also could not forget about the short film The Criminals, about a young couple's attempted stay at a hotel. It's really, really great filmmaking, very, very tense in a short package. But my number 1 is one that made your list as well. It is Coded, The Hidden Love of J.C. Leyendecker, a film that made it to the Oscars shortlist, and I was disappointed that it didn't make it any further than that. A lot of really cool picks on both of our lists.
I'm glad you had The Criminals, man. That's literally my next up. It would have been number 6. If we were just doing a whole shorts award ceremony, I'm sure that would have made it. And there was a bunch of other ones. I know you liked Raspberry of last year. Nice little cute short. B2 was a really good one. There's just so many short films that I'm really happy that the streaming services have been able to be, a way for people to catch them through YouTube, through, a lot of these different avenues, because they end up becoming a way to catch filmmakers before they make that big feature, catching Whiplash before it becomes that Oscar-winning movie.
Catching Shiva Baby before it becomes the Twitter sensation it is.
So, I love short films, so I'm glad that we get to actually have them on our broadcast.
I think probably Coded would be the one that we're closest to both awarding.
Easily.
So I think we can give the Intercut Award for Best Short of 2021, must-watch short of 2021, to Coded. Let's get into the Best Visual Effects, and I'll start with my list. I've got The Green Knight, not a film that's very effects forward, but uses it in select places effectively. Number 4 on my list is The Power of the Dog, one of those films where you might not even recognize visual effects are going on, but they published a really awesome effects reel. That dog in the hills did not get there by accident. Number 3, I have No Time to Die. I think when these action blockbusters are able to not be so effects forward, it helps create the immersion. So it may not be the thing that you're thinking about with No Time to Die, but it works well. Dune, obviously the big technical achievement of the year, a really effective use of CGI where it doesn't feel quite so artificial as it does in a lot of big blockbuster films. But the number 1 is got to be Godzilla vs. Kong, the only film on this list that simply would not work without that visual effects.
Easily. Really good pick, Zach. Let's see how many of us match, because I think we just have things in a little bit of a different order sometimes. But I have a couple of surprises as well. My top visual effects for 2021 would begin with The Suicide Squad. The one time it's going to appear on this list because that VFX team brought a real live action Patrick to life, and I thought it was great.
It's a good one.
James Gunn, when it comes to comic book movies, he knows how to literally make a comic book movie pop out of the pages onto the screen. Willy's Wonderland, man, the creepy mix of practical effects, these practical puppets and digital demons, they spoke when Nick Cage didn't for that entire movie, and I absolutely love the effects in that movie. I agreed with you on The Green Knight. I actually think it's kind of like Power of the Dog in that sense, where you don't realize there is so many effects in this movie and they knock it out of the park. Every element, water, fire, earth. There's giants walking around this movie, but there's this whole featurette that I would highly recommend on the titles. Insane how they were integrate the titles into the environment, and I think created one of the most immersive cinematic experience of last year.
Best title design might need to be another future Intercut Award.
It's going to have to be,
not this year.
But the way that they were able to create those with the VFX was fantastic. My top 2, Dune. Yep. My number 1, Godzilla vs. Kong. Not just the biggest, not just the loudest, but the absolute best VFX of last year. They were the stars. So much so that I can't wait for the next one, because just cut the humans. Keep the real stars in the movie. Let them shine. So I think we had some very interesting VFX picks for this year, because after 2020, after 2021, I feel like we're finally getting all the blockbusters back. We're getting all that work to be seen on the big screen. And I'm really happy that for a majority of these, even when they had the day and date releases, we're able to have that theatrical run and still be able to make its money there. I know a lot of Warner Bros. Movies that we have, so they did not go cheap this year.
Absolutely not. But, I think the commonality on our list is about effective use of visual effects, not necessarily lots of use of VFX. And the most effective has got to be Godzilla vs. Kong. So that's got to be our must-watch visual effects pick from 2021.
Team Godzilla.
Art, take me through your selections for Best Sound from 2021.
Sound is a category that we ourselves are also kind of combining, but it truly is a movie that when we get screeners and they're still works in progress, it's some of the most fascinating stuff, because it really makes you appreciate the mixing and the editing to a lot of these features. One of my first ones is a musical that is maybe not as beautifully choreographed as other movies. but it doesn't have that faulty ADR that some others may have. What it does have is some beautiful mixing that happens in pool sequences. There is a journey that the matriarch goes through in a train tunnel, and one part that particularly always sticks out to me is when a song is being performed in an empty apartment, and the way the mixing switches from room to room, absolutely beautiful. The Power of the Dog, a movie that uses its sound design to taunt another character when both actors weren't even in the same room. Power of the Dog easily has some of the best sound design. Dune, incredible. The Killing of Two Lovers. I've been calling this the marriage story in Utah that has combined its sound design with its score. There is a featurette you can search up the movie. It's streaming on Hulu. It takes the everyday sounds, these mundane sounds that these people deal with, and creates an ambiance that just, it's stuck with me for the entire time. And you're going to be seeing this movie a couple of times. But the one time that you're going to see this number one pick, it's because it excelled at it. Last Night in Soho took that Wizard of Oz approach where they went from black and white to color, and he did that with sound, having the entire intro of the movie be in mono. And then when you enter the 70s, it becomes surround sound. I have seen this in Dolby. I was able to see a 35 millimeter cut. I now own the digital and able to stream it in my house. It is just some of the best sound mixing. I am perplexed it did not get more honors throughout award season, but it is my number one pick for sound.
My picks for the must-watch, or I guess we could call it must-listen-to sound of 2021. I got The Disciple first on my list because that is a really like hypnotic, mesmerizing soundscape. The way that the sitar is constantly kind of in the background of so many scenes in the movie just guides you through it in this really, really effective way. I also have Last Night in Soho on my list here because that's a movie that it is very enveloping and like you say, it gives you atmosphere with its sound. I have Come on my list as well. Talking about soundscapes, I think the way that the film sort of goes through all these pre-recorded interviews and audio clips, and it kind of creates this very hypnotic feel to it too. So I really liked what was going on sound-wise in that. My one sort of more musical pick on the list is West Side Story. The score is so good and so beautiful, and just the live recording of the music too is so great. But you know, the film that really rocked me when I saw it in the theater, pounded my eardrums in the best way possible, is of course Dune, which I have at the top of my list. I'm really glad that you put some interesting films on your list. I completely forgot to put The Killing of Two Lovers here. That is a great choice, but I feel like it's either Last Night in Soho or Dune for our Intercut Award here.
I'm just happy to honor the editing mix that Edgar Wright's doing every single year. He's a man who every single actor who works with him says that he works on beat, like not just edits on beat. He is directing on beat.
Yeah.
But look, I had to travel for Dune, and it wasn't just for the screen size, man. It was also that IMAX mixing that was just absolutely incredible. You know, I could go either way with this. I also really like your pick for The Disciple because I know Johnny Greenwood's going to appear multiple times on this list, and that's technically, to a degree, a surprise Johnny Greenwood appearance considering his behind-the-scenes work on that movie.
Talented people are obviously going to be showing up a lot of places on this list, so we'll get to Johnny Greenwood later. But yeah, I think we're going to go with our must-listen of 2021 for Best Sound for Dune.
Boom. Just going to sweep it all. Dune sweep, calling it now.
We wanted to put together a Best Picture-themed feast for our 2022 Oscars party. First, we had to divide up the 10 films into a menu of 2 appetizers, 3 drinks, 2 main courses, and 3 desserts. First up, we're going with Don't Look Up-inspired Cometpolitans, a cosmopolitan with a big comet-style ice cube and pop rocks along the rim. Delicious. Next is our Dune-inspired cocktail. We're making like the settlers of Arrakis and drinking sweat. Then we'll mix our Picari sweat with some spiced rum. This one turned out way better than I expected. The last drink is the King Richard, which, I don't know, sounds like a cocktail to me. We mixed Crown Royale with Gatorade to stay on the sports theme, and it tastes a little like something you might mix at a college frat party. Not the best. Our first appetizer is for Power of the Dog, which is pretty easy to pun off of, so we're tossing some pigs in a blanket in the oven and calling these the Power of the Mini Dogs. Next up, I wanted to make some mini lobster rolls inspired by Coda, but decided ordering it would be just as good. Our first main course, of course, is licorice pizza, so in order to get that sweetness, we're going to cook some anise into the pizza sauce. It may not be as good as the pie from Prince Street Pizza, but I'll happily reuse their pizza box. Then we're doing a headless chicken prepared by the geek, inspired by Nightmare Alley, which we're slow cooking and broiling, although I probably could have used some veggies for the presentation. Lastly, we have 3 desserts. Drive My Caramel cookies, homemade, thank you. Milky Ways from Valentina's Bodega in West Side Story, homemade, thank you. Then finishing things off with a Belfast-inspired Irish whiskey float, topped off with Ben & Jerry's whiskey mix. And if all that prep sounds like too much work for your best picture feast, you could always just grab some KFC like Kristen does in Spencer.
My picks for the best song from a film from 2021. I had a little bit of trouble filling this one out. I don't know if you did, if you dove deeper than I did. I went with Somehow You Do from For Good Days, that Diane Warren written one. You know, Diane Warren is classic. She gets nominated a lot for a reason. It's not going to blow you away, but it's all right. I have We Don't Talk About Bruno, the song that Disney probably really wishes they had run for Best Original Song. They might have one more Oscar right now than they do, but alas, it does make our list, or at least mine. I have No Time to Die from No Time to Die. I thought it's a really effective Bond theme, kind of in the sleepier mold, but you know, Billie Eilish kills that kind of song, so I like that one a lot. I did like Be Alive from King Richard, the Beyonce one. I don't know, it just works for me. I liked her performance of it at the Oscars as well. I've got that on my list here. But really the only song that stood out to me from films from 2021 is So May We Start from Annette. Not just because it's an earworm that you end up humming on your way out of the movie, but because it's integrated into the film so well and is so integral to your experience of it. I think it's easily my choice for best song from 2021.
Beautiful picks. Yeah, I have a lot that are very similar that we may even come to see that we may have a tie in this one. But Zach, my top 5 would begin with the Shang-Chi album, specifically Fire in the Sky by Anderson .Paak. Man just did a sweep at the Grammys, and he had one of the lead singles for the Shang-Chi movie. And I've just been loving what Marvel does, because obviously we know that Black Panther album, fantastic. This one was done by 88 Rising, fantastic. Marvel, keep doing that, because the one thing you're definitely killing is the albums when you allow the artists to do what they got to do. Fire in the Sky by Anderson .Paak.
That one.
Oh, fantastic, dude. My next one, which I know may be in contention for some people, but I just talked to the producers and they said, yeah, we're good to go. That Funny Feeling from Bo Burnham's Inside. There are so many songs in this thing. Consider it a TV special. Consider it a comedy special, a variety. Consider it a movie, which some people have put on their best of. I'm putting the music on my top list because That Funny Feeling has been a song that I've returned to so many times. Sometimes it just finds me, which is so weird when the algorithm just knows I need to listen to it, considering what the song's about. A great special and one of my favorite songs of last year.
Yeah, I did not realize we were counting this. Otherwise, my top 5 might be 5 Bo Burnham songs.
That's why it's a good thing that Zach didn't put it on there, so we can have a more variety right here. But we do have some similar ones in these next ones. In Now May We Start, you know I'm not even oozing for Annette, bro. I got to give respect where respect is due. This is the new Closing Time, inversed. Now May We Start should have been the song, that opened up the Oscars. It did not, but it's a jingle you can't get out of your head. And the way it's choreographed, bro. It's the best Sparks movie from last year, and they had our own Sparks movie. My next one would be No Time to Die from, you guessed it, No Time to Die. Billie Eilish pretty much got every award for this song, and it's really hard to not have a good Bond song. Every single one that they've done, especially from the Craig Bonds down to from the beginning, man, I was listening to everything leading up, and this one, it stands. It's able to be a Bond song while also still remaining being a Billie Eilish song, so a fantastic one. My number 1, I forgot about Bruno. I love Bruno, but those Oruguitas, man, it is probably one of the most beautiful songs written by Lin-Manuel, what it represents. I really like Sebastián Yara's performance of it. I think he has a beautiful voice, and it's really stuck out to me, and I love that they even recorded it in both languages, and both are played in the movie. So those would be my top 5.
Very cool. I'm, of course, happy that you put Bo Burnham in there. So I guess shout out to All Eyes on Me and shout out to Welcome to the Internet as well.
Is that your one?
But It's so hard to pick one, man. I like that funny feeling a lot too.
It's so good.
Yeah. Is our collective number one? So maybe we start, or is
it's kind of
there
a
something
tie?
else that-
We have a 1 and a 3, and then a 1 and a 3 to a degree. But how would you rank the idea of having? I have No Time at 2. You have it at 3. You have So May We Start at 1. I have it at 3. So I guess So May We Start is the winner.
Just by a hair?
Just by a hair. I thought we were gonna have a tie over here. It wasn't playing. I did my math wrong.
All right, so I don't think Annette's going to win a whole lot else, but it gets best song at least from 2021. Art, take me through your nominees for the must-listen-to score, original score from 2021.
My original scores for 2021 is a variety of scores that really, I feel, almost use the environments of the movie to bring things to life. For The Harder They Fall, James Samuel's score, where he included the gunslinging. I never thought that would happen in a Western, but nonetheless, it invested me in the movie. I laughed a little bit with it, but I was really on board with it, especially when it got integrated into the soundtrack. Ben Lovett's score for The Night House. This is a movie where Rebecca Hall's character enters an inverted environment, and what he does with the score is actually inverted alongside with her journey. A beautiful, haunting score. Check that one out if you can. Then we got a twofer, man. Johnny Greenwood versus Johnny Greenwood. At number 3 would be a score for Power of the Dog, where he really gets the tension of the West. But for Spencer, he really gets the horrors of living with royalty. Johnny Greenwood just really knocked it out of the park this year. But my number 1 is Hans Zimmer's Dune.
Yeah, man. The man who invents instruments.
Yes, sir.
I respect it. My nominees for Best Original Score, I'm going with Daniel Hart for his atmospheric haunting work from The Green Knight. That stuck with me. I also have Hans Zimmer on my list, but he's a little bit lower for his work in Dune. I have Alexandre Desplat for The French Dispatch. Just that very bouncy staccato score is stuck in my head. I like that one a lot. But I've given my number 2 and number 1 slots, both to Johnny Greenwood.
Beautiful.
I have Spencer, and then I have Power of the Dog. Nobody better to call on when you need some uncomfortable, tension-building music. And man, the Power of the Dog score is just so good. It brings me back to his work in There'll Be Blood. I feel like there's a lot of similarities with those off-kilter strings, but it's so cool. It sounds so good.
I mean, we got a Johnny Greenwood twofer here. Obviously, he's the winner. But I think, surprisingly, Spencer edges out just a little bit. But, hey, at the Intercuties, we're awarding the man himself for some of the killer stuff that he's done, be it Spencer, be it Power of the Dog. I don't know obviously you would put Power of the Dog first. I still have Spencer just a little bit more, surprisingly. But I'm sure with a rewatch, Power's going to go even higher. But
yeah, I mean, that Spencer score is haunting and beautiful, so it's definitely a award-worthy score, and it's our must-listen-to from 2021.
Is going on, Intercut Podcast. I'm in the middle of a 4-day vacation, so I'm doing this while in traffic. If it looks like it's your dad trying to FaceTime you, it's because I'm filming from the back of my iPhone 7 camera, because that's what I got right now. So Zach hit me up, and he was like, hey, man, you want to talk about your favorite movie of the year while relating it to a category? So I said, of course, let me promote 9 Days, the best movie of the year. Zach would agree. And in terms of what category I think 9 Days blows every other movie from last year out of the water on, its score. It's the best score of any movie in the past 2 years, in my opinion. Maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know. Antonio Pinto, I guess he's a no-name guy, but he just knocked it out of the park. I mean, I listen to that score probably once every 2 days. If I'm ever in a writing mood, if I'm ever in a sad mood, if I'm ever in a happy mood, I'm throwing on Rebirth from Antonio Pinto's score of 9 Days, Zach's favorite film of the year. I hope you guys are enjoying these Intercut Awards, and I'm glad I could be a part, even if it's the most unprofessional video I've ever submitted for anything. So thank you guys.
Let's talk about Best Production Design. My nominees are Steve Sacklad from Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Not necessarily what I think most people would consider in production design, but the brightly colored resort sets and all the different props they're going through in this comedy are so essential to giving you the vibe that it's going for. And I think it's excellent work here. I also have Jade Healy from The Green Knight, which has this really awesome, like, kind of stripped down medieval look. And some of the designs in that movie are just so striking. The colors are so cool. Patrice Vermette from Dune, just an epic, large-scale vision of a desert planet. Amazing stuff. Adam Stockhausen for The French Dispatch. Hard to beat Wes Anderson at that game, but every single shot is just it feels like a whole movie in itself with the detail they put into it. Though, despite that, I have Stéphane Deschamps from The Tragedy of Macbeth at the number 1 spot because those sets are gorgeous. There are so many times where you could pause that film and it looks like a watercolor painting or
just
something.
Just print it. Exactly.
It's so unique in its design too. I thought it was really, really remarkable work.
Fantastic picks, dude. You know what? I mess with that Barb and Star pick. I agree with you right there. We need more comedies getting respected in technical awards, just around the board. I have no comedies that I'm respecting across the board in my 5, but I have some of my favorites of the year. For production design, I begin with The Night House. They actually carved in the being of the nothing that she's seeing while she's being haunted. Of course, there's a beautiful mix of VFX, but the idea of forming the set around it really puts you in her shoes, considering that's not fake. They actually have this mold carved into the hallways as she's being followed along there. So, The Night House for its production design. I'm with you, man. The Tragedy of Macbeth. The production design speaks for itself, but the way it goes hand in hand with the way they were able to light this thing, I think it's the perfect COVID movie. I know I don't want to reduce it to that, but everyone else just looks bad considering what they were able to do with this set right here. The Tragedy of Macbeth is outstanding. Dude, The Green Knight, it built the round table from scratch. Mm-hmm. It built castles, cottages, chapels for scenes that were only going to be there for like 5 minutes in the movie. Some of the production design VFX reels that they did for this film is stuff that should be studied for years to come. And this all comes from Lowry, who has done a fantastic job picking up a crew who, ever since he did one Disney film, he's like, hey, I know how to do one for them, one for me. And he's been doing a couple for himself. He knocked it out of the park with The Green Knight, and it is some of the best production design of the year. I don't think you could ever beat, though, Wes Anderson and his crew. The French Dispatch is just impeccable. From the miniatures to the vignettes, they created 130 sets for this world. Naming it or going with the idea that it's meant to capture the feelings of these places as you're going through every single one of the vignettes of this newspaper company. French Dispatch, nobody does it better.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really hard to argue with Wes Anderson in any production design aspect, and I'm very happy for him to take this prize here.
Hope he enjoys it.
Art, take me through your nominees for the must-watch makeup and hairstyling from 2021.
My best makeup and hairstyling begins with a very off-kilter movie, a little gem that we saw at Fantasia a while ago called Fried Berry. It's about a renowned extra, like literally a renowned extra from Hollywood, who finally gets his leading role as aliens probed his body and take it out for a joyride. I thought the makeup and hairstyling in this was absolutely fantastic, and it's really effective for this journey that they take you on with this dude. It's crazy. My next one would be The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Makeup that was so effective, it permanently scarred her face. And it's so good, I guess she's still wearing it because she looks completely fine. Candyman would be my number 3 pick. Obviously, nothing's ever going to compare to the original, in my opinion. I mean, the dude had bees in his mouth, but Yahya's performance in this and the transformation that he goes through, I thought perfectly matches the thematic elements of what's going on in the movie. It's one of my favorite horrors of last year, and a lot of that comes from the body horror that they were able to display. And number 2, though, is another horror film called Gaia. It has some beautiful designs in the forest and, you know, the separation of the rangers that go into this forest compared to the people who are living there. But they practically brought the Last of Us clickers to life. I don't know if that's legal. I don't know if it's not, but it's streaming on Hulu. It is out there. Go watch it because it is some of the best makeup and just crazy designs that they were able to put on these actors to be able to haunt them in the woods. Gaia, some of the best makeup that you're going to see from last year. But nothing's going to top Titan. From Vincent, the father, and everything that they did to his body, to everything they did to Adrian from her face down to her toes, Titan easily, without a doubt, takes my pick for the best makeup and hairstyling of last year.
A lot of really good picks there. I'm glad that you brought up Titan. That's one that I did not have on my list. Let me get into my picks for best makeup and hairstyling. I have at the bottom No Time to Die. You know, Rami Malek, of course, has the haunting scars all over his face, but I think it's more than that too. And then I have The Eyes for Tammy Faye at number 4. Obviously, Oscar-winning work now, but really gives you the progression of not just Tammy Faye, but of her husband, played by Andrew Garfield too,
really good,
and through the aging as well. I have Dune above both of them. The design of Baron Harkonnen, as well as just the look that they give to all these different characters, I think really helps transport you to Arrakis. I put Cruella at number 2. A lot of very stylish designs and memorable memorable hair pieces, I would say. So a lot of really great stuff there. But the makeup and hairstyling that actually stood out to me is a lot more subtle work than I think you normally find in this category. I'm going with The Worst Person in the World.
Solid.
From moments in the beginning that, even if it's subtle moments where she's changing her hair color or cutting her bangs or something, as a way of telling you the passage in time and that she's going through a reinvention, it's very effective character work. There's also a moment where she kind of is in a fat suit during that whole shroom sequence, and stuff like that needs to work for the movie to work. So it's the makeup and hairstyling that did the most to accentuate the storytelling for me. So that's why I give it my number 1 spot here.
Damn. So this may be one of those where I see what you were saying in terms of nominating something that may be a little off kilter. The Eyes of Tammy Faye would collectively be one that is on our top picks from here. But that is a great way to break down Worst Person in the World, since it's following her journey, and what more of a personal journey than what the actual character does to her own look.
Right.
That is a beautiful
pick. You
pick.
have to come up with those changes too. I think it helps sell you on the whole journey that she goes through.
I agree.
So you want to go with that over like Dune or Cruella? I also think Titan's a good pick. We could just give them the tie here.
I would love to give that a tie because these are two movies that you're never going to be nominated for makeup and hairstyling, yet do the most instead of just putting makeup on someone's face. And you brought a great point for Tammy Faye. I actually prefer the makeup on Andrew Garfield and what they were able to do with his face. My mom didn't even recognize the man when she was watching the movie, but I would
subtler work.
I would love to see a duo of Titan and Worst Person in the World, 2 movies that really excelled in using the makeup to not just embody a character, a person that you saw on TV, but to actually create a person that you follow along on a journey.
Great. So I think we can settle with the worst person in the world and Titan winning for
Beautiful.
best makeup and hairstyling.
And oil changes.
All right. What are your nominees for the best costume design from 2021?
Ooh, we had some really good ones this year. Hopefully we'll have my favorite designs. Yanti Yates for The Last Duel. It is crazy to think that they really had these dudes fighting in these outfits at the end, and some great behind the scenes work as they're just bopping each other on that final duel that you see in the movie. Jacqueline Duran's costumes for Spencer, man. Like, not only were they impeccable designs, but after Personal Shopper, Stewart just needs to be doused with these costumes. It's the way she wears them as well, man. Easily the designs in Spencer. Małgosia Tursanska for The Green Knight. Not only was she able to create these really cool designs for the period piece, but the aim was to make it a vegan set. And they had like coconut leather, and they had all of these different materials that they were trying to use in order to create this world. Really fascinating stuff when it comes to the behind the scenes there. My top two, I think, are pretty obvious picks, but they're obvious for a reason. Jenny Beavan for Cruella. She won it for Mad Max. She wasn't even going to take Cruella. She did, and ended up making the best part of the movie, because without her, the movie is nothing. The outfits in Cruella are literally an extension of her. She's one of the best costume designers out there, and without a doubt would have been my number one if it wasn't for West Side Story's Paul Tazewell. He did a little work on this other musical called Hamilton, and what he does here for West Side Story is incredible. Not only does he go back to the original stage production, the same way that Steven himself was doing. I truly believe that in West Side Story, the music and the costumes are telling the story of West Side Story better than the characters are telling you the story of West Side Story.
Right.
It is a beautiful way to just follow the color coordinations and the type of outfits that they're wearing throughout the movie to really see the personal journeys that the characters are going on. Without a doubt, West Side Story, my number one pick for costume design.
My nominees for best costume design are Dune, which I think does underrated work in giving you this idea of a distant planet. I mean, just the suits alone are really cool. Like, maybe because it's not as colorful as some other costume work, it doesn't get as much love, but I think it's really, really effective. I have Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, another example of the costuming doing a lot for building the world and these characters. Part of what's so funny is how kind of buttoned up these characters are. So really effective work there. I, like you, think West Side Story really deserves some accolades here. I have it at number 3 on my list. Maybe even just for Ariana DeBose's yellow dress alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything is really effective in that film. I have The Green Knight here at number 2. Design's so cool that I tried to recreate the crown for a Halloween costume. But I feel like the iconic costume work from 2021 is, of course, the Cruella. I mean, it's basically a Disney film set in the world of Devil Wears Prada. I mean, it could win this award for the garbage truck dress alone.
Thank you. We agree. That's the best one, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's rarely does a piece of clothing make an entire scene, but that one does.
That was dope.
Yeah. So is Cruella or West Side Story our higher collective?
It has to be Cruella. The Cruella would come up on top as your number 1, my number 2. And like I said, I was only inching out for West Side, but hey, shout out to West Side. But Jenny Beavan, the GOAT at the moment. Nothing can phase her.
Absolutely. Untouchable. So Jenny Beavan for Cruella wins our must-watch costume award from 2021.
What's up, Intercut guys? I was going to say, I honestly think that maybe In the Heights should have probably either got costume design or cinematography, because the fact in the use of the streets of New York and the costumes and the designs for that film honestly probably were way better than West Side Story.
Art, do you have your nominees for best casting?
Yes, for Best Ensemble Casting, I begin with The Power of the Dog, which Campion was able to wrangle together, and I thought did a fantastic job. The Cowboys of The Harder They Fall, which had them all shooting their shot. The cast of Shiva Babies, who just brought this uncontention with this claustrophobic space that I thought was just fantastic. It's one of my favorite ones. I feel like we've been shouting out Shiva Baby for years, and I hope we continue to. But my top two would be the cast of The Killing of Two Lovers. I'm still so surprised how a lot of the movie feels ad-libbed, and every single line, grunt, onomatopoeia is scripted. And you have good kid actors. Kid actors who are the director's actors. Unbelievable stuff there. I really love the way that they were able to cast that family. It really makes the movie the same way that Mass is all about the performances, and it is perplexing to see that the people in this movie did not get nominated. But hey, I guess they just have to turn it into a play, Zach, because then it would be sweeping. Mass is my number one pick.
Maybe Mass just needs to be at the Tonys.
Right?
My picks for best casting from 2021 start with Petite Maman. Maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit because this film is only just recently available in the US, but the idea of casting these twins for this role
Very nice.
is so smart.
Yes.
And so effective. I'll leave it at that. I have The Power of the Dog on my list here, partially because I think it does a really good job of playing kind of into type and against type a little bit. I think part of the reason that Benedict Cumberbatch works so well in the role is he's kind of not really a good fit for playing a macho American cowboy. And there's this air of like he's putting something on.
Playing pretend, yeah.
Yeah. I have No Sudden Move, which maybe is a cheat code because Steven Soderbergh just gets anybody he wants to off the bench. But part of what makes that movie magic is when, you know, a new scene happens and like, oh man, that's Brendan Fraser. And oh man, that's Kieran Culkin. Like the roster on this film is so good. And it's not just stunt casting. Everybody's really effective in their roles. Yep. I put Zola at number 2 here.
Great pick.
A really great job of catching a bunch of actors who are kind of on the rise. It introduced me to Taylor Page, but also really effective use of Coleman Domingo and Nicholas Braun, understanding what makes those two such talented performers. And also the idea of putting Riley Keough in that part in the first place is pretty hilarious. But we can even get into some of the like extras casting in that film, but
yes,
it is very well cast. But my number one for casting is going to go to Red Rocket. I think Sean Baker is just like on another level when it comes to these the casting of non-actors or unexpected actors. And for a guy to look at Simon Rex and be like, I got a whole movie I can build around him, I think that says a lot. So Red Rocket for me is got some of the most effective casting from 2021.
Bro, I love this. We all had every single pick be different except for the one, Power of the Dog. But before we talk about that one, I just love the variety of stuff that we had here. Just the ability to be able to see all the different castings and what stood out to us. Yo, that's a good list of movies right there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows all the different ways in which you can cast effectively, and I love the shout out of the director's actual kids in Killing of Two Lovers.
It's so crazy.
One of those things that helps make it that more intimate and effective. It's kind of funny that I think we're going to end up going with Power of the Dog, even though that was number 5 on your list and 4 on mine. But
it still shows how good it is. Yeah, no, it is a perfectly cast movie that, I mean, it's going to appear more times as well, but out of all the performances here, I think that also has a lot of our most standout performances from the film as well.
Right, so we're going with Power of the Dog for our must-watch casting of 2021.
I think the Oscar nominee I wanted to see in my wildest dreams was Simon Rex for Sean Baker's Red Rocket. I mean, I think that he did such a good job at portraying this very, very unlikable guy, but in a strangely charming way. Now, that might have to do with Sean Baker's script, but I think that the level of commitment that Rex brought to the role was unparalleled, and he should have gotten some recognition.
My picks in best stunt work / choreography. I'm starting out with The French Dispatch.
Beautiful.
Wes Anderson films move like cuckoo clocks. The precision is so crazy to watch. It almost feels unreal. Even that one shot of them just putting drinks on the plate, it's so precise that
That's
it's
good.
hard to imagine. So yeah, I mean, it's not maybe what you would think of in traditional choreography, but it is choreographed.
It's stunt work.
Yeah. Speaking of stunt work, I got Bad Trip at number 4. It's kind of
Talk
in the
about
Jackass Forever mold, but these are actors putting their bodies on the line and in very public ways too. I think, for these stunts to play out without people around them necessarily knowing their stunts goes to show how effective the stunt work is. I have at number 3, The Last Duel. Ridley Scott knows how to direct an epic battle, and it builds and builds to that final moment, and it really does deliver in that battle between Matt Damon and Adam
Glad you put
Driver.
it on. It's my number 6, so I'm glad you made it on the list.
Number 2, I got No Time to Die. I think sometimes the action in these big blockbusters, it either feels like wallpaper or it feels like you're on a roller coaster. And for me, No Time to Die was the latter. It is so thrilling from its opening moments. That whole sequence with him and Ana de Armas, really, really effective work.
It was the Anna scene on the floor with the spin.
Yep. But my number 1 choice is West Side Story. Hard to believe when they dumped the original's choreography that it would be here, but it is so effectively done and also accentuated by the camera work. I just thought it was really brilliant. The America sequence in particular is so beautifully done. So
perfect.
Even if we're taking it beyond the dance choreography, Spielberg just blocks better than all the other directors. So
not close.
That's why I'm happy to put it at my number 1 here.
Not even close. My top 5 begins with Malignant. Gabriel was played by a contortionist, and that has been something that Juan has gone towards for a lot of his roles. Been giving these people jobs the same way Guillermo does, and I've been loving seeing what he's done with a lot of these films in terms of horror, because there is a specific long take of Gabriel running backwards and then the scene of him throwing the chair that will stick with me forever, and I love the way that he was able to stage those. My number 4, I know sometimes you couldn't see their knees, Zach, but I love the choreography for 96,000. I thought it's fantastic. Every time that comes on, that was the one bit that I was playing so many times. The fact that last year I was able to see that on the Dolby screen, then come home and play it on HBO Max was crazy. In the Heights. Number 3 and number 2. We got a lot of bus scenes. Buses were not safe last year for several reasons, I guess, but one of them would be because you might get punched in the face. Nobody. Bob Odenkirk just killed it in this movie, and the specific choreography done for this sequence I thought was fantastic. It would be my number 1 bus scene, but I got to do it as a whole, which is why Shang-Chi is my number 2 pick. Not only delivering its own bus scene, but it has several moments, and I've been telling you this. Andy Lee is the new Iko. He kills it in this movie, and he doesn't even show his face. There's a lot of beautiful stunt choreography in Shang-Chi, and I would highly recommend seeing the behind the scenes, because it's one of those movies where seeing it without the effects is even cooler. But my number 1, I agree with you, man. It is unbeatable. West Side Story. People have talked about the auditorium scene, maybe even the Be Cool scene. I'm gonna keep it simple. That Officer Krupke scene is matched to perfection. I don't even want to spoil it. There are just some bits that they do while they're locked there in the cell that I don't know. I just love it. I catch something new every single time with one of the background dudes doing something. It is like, I hate the song, like the lyrics, but I love the choreography probably even more than the original. I don't think they can compete with any of the other ones. Like the original Be Cool choreography is untouched. But I really like the mix of the Officer Krupke here. And like you said, there is no better blocking than what Spielberg does.
Absolutely. Yeah, good shout out for Nobody there. Their stunt work in those films are always really strong. I also do like some sequences in The Heights a lot. You mentioned 96,000. I also love the sequence where they're on the side of the building. It's very cool. My problem with those films are more cinematography than choreography.
Exactly.
To tell you the truth.
Exactly. That's why they'll never make my cinematography list. But I respect the stunts.
And Shang-Chi's a really good pick here. I thought about it, and then I remembered there's so much visual effects in the film that I think it undermines how good some of the stunt work actually is.
That upsets me. Don't get me wrong, but I still can't overlook the people who they've got there. A lot of them who went on to go do this year's or technically they did it first. I was telling Zach about this. Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you like Andy Lee, like I've been shouting him out here, go check him out there because he kills it.
Yeah. But I think we're happy to go with West Side Story
Ecstatic,
as our
bro.
must-watch choreography from 2021.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take a break from the awards to thank the Intercutie Plus patrons, those wonderful people who are supporting our show. They are Ewan, Julieta, Garrett, Tim, Elizabeth, and Ashley. Our Academy level members are Tushar, Cademan, Connor, and Josh. And of course, a very big thanks to the producer level patron known only as Awkward. Ooh. Thanks again for all the support. And a reminder that you too can become a member at patreon.com/intercutpod, where you can sign up for patron benefits like early access to Intercut episode outlines, access to private channels on the Intercut Discord, and an invitation to our monthly patron Google meetings. Art, how was our Oscars debrief sesh with the patrons?
Bro, a lot tamer than how the Oscars actually went down, so I will say that. But we got to go into the deeps. A lot of the stuff that we don't even cover on the show, we're able to have a nice back and forth, because sometimes it's easier to actually have a live reaction, actually have a discussion, as opposed to seeing something in the chat get overthrown. So always really cool to hear some talks and hear some behind the scenes and some criterions that y'all have the leg up on us. So yeah. It's always cool to have some talks with the patrons, putting some stuff on my must-watch list as well.
Absolutely. I have a whole bunch of Polish cinema to get through after our last patron call. So make sure to support the show for as little as $1. So man, all the Hamaguchi we got to watch. Make sure to contribute as little as $1 a month, and you too can join us for our patron hangouts. In a little bit, we will get to Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, but make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut podcast, either the video form on youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio version available on most podcatchers. Also, follow Intercut on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We are at IntercutPod. That's at IntercutPod. That's short for podcast. Also, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. When you do, it makes me happier than a great acceptance speech at the Oscars. Art, do you have an all-time favorite Oscars acceptance speech? Is it too cliche to say like the Cuba Gooding Jr. one where he's jumping around and they're playing him off? Like, I feel like that's the standard favorite acceptance speech.
I'm gonna go with Joe Pesci's "Thank You."
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with that one. It's simple.
To the point.
To the point. You have one?
Right. Ooh, I mean, like, obviously the Kuba one's great. Obviously the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon one is classic. The funny thing is when somebody you don't want to win the Oscar wins it and gives a great speech. I think the guy who won for Imitation Game gave like an awesome speech that almost redeemed the fact that I didn't love that script.
When you're upset when the moment they announce the winner and then they speak and you go,
all right.
That moment's always really cool.
Yeah. So shout out also to Warwick Sharon for their 5-star review of the podcast, calling us just masterful.
Aww,
they said,
thank you.
Quote, "The Intercut podcast is my favorite movie podcast as they discuss my favorite kind of movies and movies in general in the podcast. I'm a patron and as I want to support these guys as much as possible because they are truly great. Strongly recommend. We feel the love. Thank you for that review."
Appreciate it.
Let's get back into the awards with our picks for Best International Feature. Going to run through these pretty quickly because we want to talk about a lot of them. You know, it's weird that the Academy limits this to only 5 films when their Best Picture category is now as big as 10. So let's go through our 10 picks for Best International Feature from 2021. Art, do you want to start?
Going through my top 10 international features, I have one that's actually a hybrid of a hybrid. It is half doc, half drama. It's also half American, half Mexican, considering that it is a story of a dude who's crossing the border in order to be able to have another life, but at the same time remembering who he left behind. That pick would be I Carry You With Me, that premiered at Sundance a couple of years ago. Another one that I have on my list is France's pick that wasn't their pick, Titan. Anytime Julia's making a movie, I know that even if I don't understand it quite yet, it is an experience, just like Raw was. And Raw was something that would have been in my top 5 of that year, but Titan makes it in my top 10, alongside another filmmaker who I absolutely love. This one does have an asterisk. Zach and I were talking about this, considering that it may not be a whole totally original idea here, but ironically, that goes hand in hand with this movie. Zach, this was one of the final ones that I was catching up before we got to this list. It is Iran's A Hero, a movie about kind of taking credit for something that isn't yours, surprisingly. Going on in my list is Mexico's Prayers for the Stolen. Just a beautiful movie, a haunting movie, and one that has really good performances with a trio of actors, especially for the kids. Spain's Parallel Mothers. Just a fantastic way of having a very engaging movie about two mothers who may have swapped kids. And then the backdrop of what the movie really ends up being about with the history of Spain. Crazy. I have Kosovo's Hive. Y'all know I loved this movie coming out of Sundance. It is one of my favorite just like character journeys of a woman who's trying to start her own business, and I loved it. I wish I got more honors, but it's right here in my top 5 list alongside Iran's There Is No Evil. I don't even want to say what the premise of the movie is about because they really hit you in that first 10 minutes when you see, this is what we're dealing with, but it's 4 short stories that are combined together to kind of have this theme that are interconnected. But the reason he did it with 4 short films was because he is not allowed to make a feature in his country. He has been barred, but they allowed him to make 4 short films that he then combined and turned it into a feature film. There Is No Evil. I believe it's streaming on Hulu. Do yourself a favor. Just go and blink. In my top 3, Compartment Number 6, a movie that's still getting its rollout, but it is so worth it. I was floored by this movie. I really love it. It's a Finnish film about 2 strangers who meet on a train. I don't know. That's just a really good premise for a movie, man. And it just takes you places just like they go. My top 2, we all know them. Japan's Drive My Car, the 3-hour. I almost want to call it an epic, even though it's the slowest paced movie. It's very gentle, but it has just really taken the world by storm. It's on HBO Max. I hope people give it a chance to watch it and rewatch it because the details in that movie are fantastic. But my number 1 is The Worst Person in the World from Norway. Zach's going to say more about that. I believe it may be our collective number 1 to a degree. So Zach, what's your top 10?
I have the other Ryosuke Hamaguchi film here, Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy, a really delightful anthology and one that people who love Drive My Car absolutely should not overlook. I also have the Almodovar film Parallel Mothers, a really haunting and very well acted film with lots of really memorable moments and scenes between the different mothers in this film. Have a little bit of a cheat, I guess, since we normally go with foreign language and international feature, but that doesn't necessarily mean
I like it.
International is different from foreign language. I'm going with White Lie, the Canadian indie, a really effective film about a fib gone too far. I think one of the tensest movies that I saw in from 2021. At number 7, I have the latest Quentin Dupieux buffoonish comedy, Mandibles.
Buffoonery.
Few films made me laugh as much as this movie about a couple idiots who find a giant fly. I also have the Netflix entry from Italy, The Hand of God. A really interesting coming-of-age story with some very, very memorable scenes. In my top 5, I have Riders of Justice, the very effective Mads Mikkelsen revenge film. It kind of looks on its surface like it's a carbon copy of Taken, but it's much deeper and more complex than that. I have Petite Maman at number 4, one of the most effective films I saw. And, you know, if we're going minute for minute, this might be the most effective movie of the year, the latest from Celine Sciamma. I have at number 3, Drive My Car. It's a little bit hard for me to even believe that I have it this low, considering how much affection I have for this film, but it just speaks highly to the top 2, which I have at number 2, The Worst Person in the World, the amazing Joachim Trier, I guess millennial coming of age, post-adolescent coming of age, whatever. We're going to use Amanda's favorite term for it. But my number 1 is the same as my number 1 film from our top 10 lists. I have The Disciple, the Chaitanya Tamhane film that is an absolutely haunting story of a man dedicating himself to an art form that does not return the dedication back.
Beautiful picks, man. I think collectively we know the best pick is The Worst Person in the World.
Yeah, just such an effective movie. And, you know, I guess we got to give just the honorable mention to Hamaguchi here because we both really love that film. But it's just a matter of choosing between 2 brilliant, brilliant movies. So I'm very happy to give the award here to Worst Person in the World, one of the films that I think hit me closest to my heart last year.
Mm-hmm. Awesome picks. And for those of you, because we know we have a global audience, send us your picks from your countries, other countries that you have seen. We're always looking forward to catching some other picks that are international, because now that we have the ability to watch a bunch of stuff in streaming, it's even more accessible than ever.
I'm going to run through our nominees for Best Documentary Feature a little bit quicker because we did discuss this during our top 10 of the year lists. I think my list has actually shifted a little bit since then because it's been a couple months, but I have The Rescue, Flea, President, The Monopoly of Violence, Summer of Soul, The Velvet Underground, Try Harder. Then in my top 3, it's Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched, In the Same Breath, and of course, the guy Theo Anthony with All Light Everywhere at that number 1 spot. Art, what do you have in your top 10 for documentary?
Big doc fans here. Make sure you watch The Dissidents. Shh. Billie Eilish's The World's a Little Blurry. I didn't get it in IMAX. Assassins, which I'm still scared I saw at Sundance. Finding Ying Ying, which still breaks my heart when I think of that ending. In the Same Breath is the best COVID documentary. I don't think they've passed it, Zach. I don't. Summer of Soul, the Oscar winner that is just so much energy. Whirlybird, a fantastic movie. Woodlands, the definitive horror retrospective. Flea, one of the greatest stories from last year. And of course, the boy Theo, All Light Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm very happy to team up on awarding Theo Anthony an award here.
This wasn't even a question. I don't think on this one. We said we're going to go quick, and we know why we're going quick. It's the boy Theo all the way.
Art, run me through your nominees for Best Animated Feature.
Definitely. My top 5 animated features for 2021 would begin with Belle, which really gets into this world of VR in their metaverse, which is you. But it's also a really good story of a shy high schooler, Suzu, who not only becomes a global superstar in this world, but also has her online persona clash with her own childhood that she's still grappling with. The next one would be Crypto Zoo, the hand-drawn Crypto Zoo world full of crypto keepers that hunt down cryptids. Bro, this stuff, I loved this movie. I thought it was very interesting to see how they go about capturing these creatures, trafficking these creatures, protecting them, or in what inspired the movie, creating a type of Disney World where it's like an Epcot of just hosting all of these beings, and I found it to be really fascinating. What I found to be extremely creepy is this movie from Chile, which also is my top horror film of the year, The Wolf House. All done in stop motion, as it's inspired by real events where a woman is fleeing from these religious fanatics only to enter a house that's reacting to her feelings in real time. It is just crazy animation. It is the reason why animation is an insane medium to be able to tell a story. It's a trip. Put it on your radar. It's on Shudder. My top 2 would be Encanto. I love the movie. I can't say that it's the best Disney production that's ever been out there, but it's the magical family drama that is told so hand in hand with music that Lin-Manuel needed a credit for the movie in terms of writing. But my number 1, Zach, you know where I've been. Mitchell's versus the Machines. It embraces the awkwardness and differences of family that a lot of these movies were doing as well. This just excels it. It's jam-packed with so many Easter eggs, so many little gags, and it makes me appreciate every single frame because Sony has just been on another level with these types of movies where they're making sure that every single picture that they have doesn't look like any other animated film. My top pick is Mitchell's versus the Machines.
My nominees for Best Animated Feature, I have The Spine of Night at number 5. Rotoscoped, epic battle animation. Yeah. I have number 4, Luca, a really effective tale of friendship in Italy. At number 3, I have Encanto, not my favorite from Disney, but some really wonderful sequences. At number 2, I have the thrice Oscar-nominated Flea. But at number 1, it's the same as yours. It's the only animated film that I felt like really spoke to me from last year. It's The Mitchells versus the Machines. So a really wonderful, funny, detail-oriented animated film, and just a really great time. I'm glad that you put a lot of the movies you had on your list, like Crypto Zoo and The Wolf House there. They're not necessarily films that like I enjoyed my experience of, but I admire greatly because they're beautiful works of animation.
Yes, exactly. That was one of my reasons. I love Flea. I agreed with your early statements on Flea where the animation is the backdrop to the insane story. So in terms of the animation for Flea, it's not the best thing of that movie. But in terms of the animation to a lot of these films, even as uncomfortable as they made me, the stuff they did is what I love to see. It's a whole new world. So really good picks, but I'm of course I'm happy to see it to go to Mitchell versus the Machines. Even at the Oscars, he was there thanking everybody with the little quilt that he had of all the craftsmen. So.
Hey guys, I'm here to talk about why Mad God deserves a nomination for Best Animated Feature. After 30 years in the making, Phil Tippett deserves so much for this magnum opus. The stop motion is so intricate and detailed. It almost looks like every single figure is made with his own sweat and body hair. And each level of hell he creates has so much world building just in the visuals. Obviously, it's too weird for the Oscars, but I really wished it got something. I'm just kidding. Clifford the Big Red Dog should have won Best Picture.
My nominee is for Best Cinematography. At number 5, I have Greg Fraser for his epic work in Dune. Like with all of Denis' blockbuster work, I think they're able to give the film a really epic sense of scale without making it feel artificial, which is really an achievement when we're working with films like that. Paul Thomas Anderson and Michael Bauman sharing cinematography credit on Licorice Pizza. I really love their work. I think it's just really effective from moment to moment. It's just kind of has like a loose nature to it that matches the feel of the film. I have Bruno Delbonnel for The Tragedy of Macbeth, a gorgeously shot black and white film. We talked about the production design earlier, but it is really accentuated by how Delbonnel shoots his frames. At number 2, I'm putting Janusz Kaminski's work from West Side Story. Just absolutely elegant camera work. There's no film from 2021 that equals the way that Kaminski's camera works kind of as like a character moving throughout these scenes and accentuating what the different performers are doing through these dance numbers. It's really, really strong work and the kind of work that musicals in movies has been missing. I'm almost surprising myself by not putting it number 1, but I just responded so strongly to Andrzej Palermo's work from The Green Knight, just draping that film in all these different colors and giving this sense of suspense and dread to different moments from the way they shoot it, all the different long takes in the film. I just really, really responded to how they went about filming this pensive, anxiety-ridden story.
Beautiful picks, dude. I'm approaching mine by giving my one perfect shot, my one frame that really stood out to these movies that I think makes it the top of the top.
I like that.
Starting off my 5 is Ari Wegner's The Power of the Dog for this dog mountain shot right here. Just beautiful imagery. For The Green Knight, Andrew Droz Palermo's The Light Hole moment where it was all done practically, just beautifully done. West Side Story with Janusz Kaminski's just beautiful shot right here with the shadows. It's something that I've loved since they dropped it in the trailer. For The Tragedy of Macbeth, I really loved Bruno Delbonnel's just staging for the way he was able to bring light, and nothing is better than the way that the light shines in this shot right here. Just honestly fantastic. I want this printed out. But my number 1's got to be Greg Fraser for Dune. And that would be every single shot in IMAX.
Yeah, it's just epic work. And at that scale, too, I don't know what it is about the direction that Denis gives to his cinematographers. I feel like Bradford Young's work in Arrival had a lot of the same qualities, where it both looks unreal and very real. I don't know, man. It's awesome work. Where do we overlap here? I mean, I think we both had The Green Knight. We both had Greg Fraser.
This is a surprising
Bruno
one.
Delbonnel.
It almost seems, if I'm not mistaken, that the winner for this would be The Tragedy of Macbeth, a movie where I think
we both had it at number 3.
Honestly, yeah. I had a bunch of stuff that was higher that I think has some crazy looking shots, but I think out of all the movies here, there is not one bad shot in Tragedy of Macbeth. I'm not saying the other ones are terrible, but you could pause it on something and it could look a little awkward. Everything is staged to perfection in The Tragedy of Macbeth, and I think rightfully so. It deserves the Intercut Must-Watch Awards that you could stream online on Apple TV, probably one of the best providers when it comes to making sure that you get that crispy Dolby Atmos picture.
That 4K.
Beautiful.
Hey guys, I think that French cinematographer Claire Maton's work in Spencer should have been recognized by the Academy this year. Her work in previous films like Petite Maman, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, is phenomenal. You can basically take a frame out of any of her films and it looks like an oil painting. So I think it's about time that she gets a nomination. It wasn't for Spencer, but hopefully it's for one in the near future.
What do you have as your nominees for Best Film Editing?
Love the editing awards over here. I have a slew. For Shiva Baby, I loved Hannah Park's work and the way that she was able to really bring in all that tension in the movie as it's all taking place at a Shiva. At number 4, dude, it was in the name. Zack Snyder's Justice League, a literal movie where we were waiting for a cut, showcasing that you can make something longer, and everybody embraced it a lot more. Surprised the heck out of me, but that's Zack Snyder. He makes ultimate cuts that I personally think flesh out his stories a bit better. And hey, that Snyder cut finally out there. I have to recognize it. At number 3, Zola. Joy McMillan has edited Moonlight, Beale Street, Underground Railroad. She even did Bravo's first film, or previous film, Lemon. Killed it with Zola. And you and I agree that we still feel we want more of an ending, but nonetheless, the pacing, the editing in this movie, she did a fantastic job with it. My top 2, totally. Joshua L. Pearson for Summer of Soul. A documentary that is edited to perfection as it covers the Harlem Cultural Festival. Beautiful job with it. Disney released the clips. Stop claiming them. But my number 1, all done through Rhythm, Joe Walker's for Dune.
Very cool. Very cool. My nominees for Best Film Editing, I'm starting off with Michael Kahn and Sarah Brochar for their work on West Side Story, helping to accentuate the rhythms of those films and cutting to the performances. I mean, I think it's aided by how much Spielberg is obviously storyboarding this stuff, but it's all effectively put together. I also have Tom Cross and Elliot Graham for their work on No Time to Die. I think it's really excellent in terms of pacing the different scenes, in terms of building tension, those final moments where they really get you to feel emotional for this character who's often been so unhurtable. So I think No Time to Die is really, really strong. I have Andy Jurgensen for his work on Licorice Pizza, even though that's kind of like an episodic film. Just it has a rhythm to it that really works for me.
Good pace.
I really liked Jennifer Vecchiarello's work from Come On, Come On, another film that sort of just skates from moment to moment. It doesn't really feel like new scenes announce themselves. They just bleed into one another. And I really like that approach to a film. But my number 1 for film editing is Olivia Boog-Kute, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, from The Worst Person in the World, a film that just moves. I mean, going through all these different chapters, going through all these different moments in her life, I think it does a really cool thing where the film will go very quickly and then it'll slow in moments, and it holds on all the moments you need it to. So it was extremely effectively edited for me, and it's the editing that stuck out for the year for me. Just the whole opening prologue is just so briskly paced. It's so strong, and I think it's some of the best editing I've seen in the last year.
Dude, these are some dope picks. Every single one.
Yeah,
10
man.
different editing jobs done here. I love it. I love the diversity that we've got in this list. Every single one done for a different approach. I think we got ourselves another time, man. I stand by my Joe Walker editing in Dune with the rhythm and the pace that they were able to do, especially with those time sequences in when he does the voice and not realizing that you've been manipulated before it happens. I think the editing is going to be even more profound when we get part 2 and we see what was actually done. But bro,
there's some pretty cool stuff in Dune.
Worst Person in the World is I would add here. I don't know what I would take out from my list, but that's a pick where yes, I underestimated the editing on that 100%.
The one that you have here that I actually kind of wish I threw on mine too
Zack
is Zola.
Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I know.
That's a movie that needs more editing. But Zola is really effective and surprising with its edits too. That's a really good pick there.
That sequence at the motel with the ball, I don't know why that's been engraved in my head the same way that it is for her. I don't know. It really put you in the backseat of the car.
Yeah. I'm happy to give this to a tie between Worst Person in the World and Dune because those are also two very different styles of films too. Yes. So it's a pretty interesting contrast there.
Yay, editing.
So, yeah. So our must-watch film editing from 2021, Dune and The Worst Person in the World.
Beautiful.
My nominees for the Best Original Screenplay from 2021 are Justine Bateman for Violet, for essentially turning a therapy session into a screenplay and making someone's brain the antagonist. Really cool stuff there. I have Ed Solomon for No Sudden Move, a period heist film that has kind of a lot to say, actually. I think there's more to be said about that script than people maybe gave it credit for. So I really like
me want to rewatch it,
No
man.
Sudden Move.
Okay.
Yeah, man, it's really good stuff. Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. I think few people are as good at crafting interesting characters as he is, and there's so many just interesting scenes in that film. One of my favorite screenplays from last year. At number 2, I have Fran Kranz's work from Mass, way overlooked in award season. And maybe it's because people think this is better suited for the stage, but I think it's extremely effective as a movie. I think the script is very emotionally intelligent and beautifully paced. Great work there. But again, I'm going with The Worst Person in the World as my number 1. I think Joachim Trier's script is just so beautifully written, and there's so many moments and lines that are burned into my brain.
I agree, man. Really good picks. I was also taking into consideration what I felt was the most just original on paper stuff. Even when some of the movies I thought were pretty good, but not fantastic, I saw so much potential in these scripts, and it's ideas that have been ruminating in my head, such as Prano Bailey Bonds and Anthony Fletcher's script for Censor, one of my most anticipated movies from that festival. I believe it was Sundance, where it's based on the video nasties of the 80s, and it follows a film censor who cuts out all the violent images in movies, and then it starts bleeding into her life as she's searching for her sister who went missing when she was a child. Censor, just fascinating idea right there, and a really good script. I agreed with you. I was teeter-tottering what I was going to do with this movie. I saw you had it on your original screenplay, and I was like, it really is. Justine Bateman's script for Violet is, we love the movie, and this is probably the best part of the movie. It puts you in the mind of a film executive who's struggling to like make any decision because she's doused in fear and doubt, and that's all brought to life with a voice in her head that's done by Justin Theroux. A really good script. I really enjoyed that movie. Hey, this is a movie I know not a lot of people liked. I don't care. Ben David Grabinski's script for Happily. It's a dark romantic comedy that I think does a lot. To some people, it does a lot. But I think what it is at its center is this like teen couple drama where everybody has that group of friends, and we all know something about the other person that maybe two of you know, but the other people don't. This is the movie where everything gets revealed, and I don't know. I really enjoyed that scene. I loved all the build up to it and all the different tones that it had. I like it. It's my pick. Happily. My top ones, though, would be Shatara Michelle Ford's script for Test Pattern. It's a psychological drama. At its surface, it is just about a couple who's going from hospital to hospital to get an essay kit. Like, that's the premise. What it's really... Where it really builds is in that relationship and in the power dynamics between the two. This is one of the best scripts. I want to read this script. My number 2 of the year, Test Pattern. My number 1 goes with you, man. The Worst Person in the World, Escale Voigt, Joaquin Trier, a dramedy about the meaning of life. I think it was you who said this. It's Amélie from Millennials. Beautiful way to put it. Beautiful way to put it. I don't see how we can't give it to anything else but The Worst Person in the World.
I'm so glad that you had Test Pattern on your list. That is one of my favorite films from 2021, and I just was struggling to find it a place in some of these categories because I think some of its work is so subtle that you don't necessarily even like think about it for certain categories. But it is a beautifully written script. So shout out to Shatara Michelle Ford. But I'm happy to go with Worst Person in the World here. Just one of the best scripts I've seen in a while. Only really rivaled by what's going on in the adapted screenplay category. I'll run through some of my... First we'll say that our must-watch original screenplay from 2021 is Worst Person in the World. But let's talk about the best adapted screenplays too. Here are my nominees for that category. I have Jane Campion's work from The Power of the Dog, an enigmatic work that doesn't reveal itself until later on. I have The Last Duel from Affleck, Damon, and Holofcener, a Rashomonic tale of hubris and men who are not shit, despite thinking it. I really thought this one was a very effective script and surprisingly funny, too. I have Tony Kushner's work for West Side Story. I think this is underrated work in adapting a play and a film that had some problematic elements and doing it in a way that modernizes it without making it feel like they're trying to modernize it. It just sort of recontextualizes things in a very effective way. At number 2, I have Stephen Karam's The Humans, based on his own Tony nominated or winning play. But the script in the film is just so haunting. The dialogue between these people just eats at you and gets under your skin. And it's just a very effectively written film about this disconnection between the family. For me, though, I think easily my number 1 is Ryosuke Hamaguchi and Takamasa Oe's work for Drive My Car, just a beautifully written film about trauma and loss and language and communication. Mm-hmm. There's so much contained within that script, partially because it is 3 hours long, but it earns it because the film is so beautifully written. One of the best screenplays that I've seen in a while, that it's able to hold your attention in that way without being a very splashy movie. It just connects you emotionally to all these different people.
My picks for the best adapted screenplays of this year would be Zola, the one based on tweets by Isaiah King.
Yeah.
I love the way they was able to bring that to life. Gets my number 5 slot. Really liked Rebecca Hall's adaptation to Nella Larson's novel, Passing. Beautifully done, beautifully told in black and white. Thought it was very effective. Such as David Lowery's The Green Knight, which, I don't know who originally did this, some old-ass poet, but he adapted that. Did a beautiful job with the themes of not just knighthood, but time, and I just thought it was very well done. But my top 2, like you said everything needed to be said about Drive My Car. I just think it's crazy that it's a 3-hour movie and it's based off a short story. Love it. But my number 1 is Jane Campion's adaptation to Thomas Savage's novel, The Power of the Dog. Just floored me. I read the book, and it's just very interesting to see what she kept, what she didn't, and even what the actors were able to infer and add to their characters that they didn't even tell Jane about. I loved it. My favorite script of the year.
It's an excellent script, one that I think is really rewarding on the revisit as well. I still feel like our collective here is the Japanese film Drive My Car.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Shouts to Hamaguchi. What a beautifully written film. Let's talk about our must-watch supporting performances from 2021, the acting that has stuck with us throughout the year. I have Ruth Negga for Passing.
After all these years, what would it matter if you found out that I was 1 or 2% colored,
Well, you can turn as black as you please as far as I'm concerned. I know you're not colored.
Troy Kotzer for Coda.
You're all that I need to get by.
Jeffrey Wright for The French Dispatch.
Maybe with good luck, we'll find what eluded us in the places we once called home.
Catherine Hunter for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
A drum. Macbeth doth come. Aye. In a sieve I'll do the sail. And like a rat without a tail, I'll do, and I'll do.
Anders Danielsen Lai for The Worst Person in the World.
Jeg ser bare gamle filmer jeg liker om henne. Altså, Lynch og Gudfaren 2. Jo, men altså, mange ganger skal man se Dog Day Afternoon.
Mange ganger?
Ok. Ja. Det skal man.
Ben Affleck for The Last Duel.
I know he is stubborn.
Yes.
Stubborn, difficult, jealous, rash,
Yes.
dim-witted, irascible.
Yes, I know, my lord.
Stupid, does not exactly yield his rents on time.
But I count him as a friend.
He disobeyed me and let Limoges fall.
Ann Dowd for Mass.
We believed we were good parents. And in some awful, confusing way, we still do. Isn't it worse that I thought I was a good mother? I love my children. Other parents, I wasn't so different. How did I do things so differently?
Ariana DeBose for West Side Story.
No, gracias. Yo no soy americana.
Yo soy puertorriqueña.
Mike Feist for West Side Story.
Let's say we visit the head. We'll powwow friendly like. You, me, and my troublemaking buddy here.
And Jane Hodyshell for The Humans.
My bosses are... I'm an office manager, Rich. I've been with the same company since right out of high school.
The whole place fall apart without her.
Yeah, well, my salary doesn't reflect that. And these new kids they've hired, I'm now working for 2 more guys in their 20s. I don't even want to talk about it.
Wow. A wild Ben Affleck has appeared in the chat. Let's go. Really good pick, Zach. And it's going to be interesting to see what ends up in our top over here. But as I begin my top supporting performances of 2021, I have Harriet Sansom Harris for Licorice Pizza.
You come here trying to be all pretty for me, but really you remind me of a dog, of an English pit bulldog with sex appeal and a very Jewish nose.
Jeffrey Wright for The French Dispatch.
Who, what, where, when, how, valid questions. But I learned as a cub stringer, never under any circumstance, if it is remotely within your power to resist the impulse, never ask a man why.
Catherine Hunter for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble.
Cole Domingo for Zola.
What's this for?
Respect.
So I can go home now?
Nah. I'm gonna need you to do what you did last night.
Ruth Negga for Passing.
And I don't blame you for being angry, Rennie. You acted beautifully that day, really beautifully, thank you.
I don't want thanks.
I just mean that it was very kind of you to be so delicate about it.
What other option did I have, Claire?
Mike Feist for West Side Story.
The river. The docks. The underpass. The rail yards. The salt shed. Donde?
De donde está 57th in the river?
Anders Danielson Lee for The Worst Person in the World.
Jeg skjønner ikke hva jeg har latt som alt det, ok? Jeg vil ikke at du skal gå rundt og huske meg. Jeg vil ikke være en stemme inn i hodet ditt. Jeg vil ikke leve videre i kunsten min og alt det.
Martha Plimpton for Mass.
Tell me about your son.
What would you like to know?
Everything. I want to know everything.
Why?
Why do I want to know about your son? Because he killed mine.
Cody Smith McPhee for The Power of the Dog.
You had a great many Valentines.
A great many.
Because you're beautiful.
Is there some that makes you shiver?
I don't remember.
And my number one pick is Ariana DeBose for West Side Story.
This is about family. Tú tienes que respetar.
Ah, y ahora yo no soy parte de la familia. ¿Y por qué?
I'm so pleasantly surprised to see all the ways in which we overlap, especially
Right?
with the performances that aren't necessarily getting the love that we think they should. Guys like, or people like Jeffrey Wright and Catherine Hunter.
His is good, man.
I love that we each have a different one of the women from Mass on our list, but everybody
that's
is
really
so
cool.
good in Mass.
Yeah. I'm Team
Yeah, but-
Martha all the way on that one.
Yeah. But I think we both have the West Side Story duo as the supporting performances that really struck us this year.
Yeah, surprisingly, Mike Feist was one that I had to cut out my boy Barry Keogh from this list because you had reminded me that, hey, Mike Feist did kill that movie. So yeah, I am glad to give it to our West Side duo.
All right, so our must-watch supporting performances from 2021 are Ariana DeBose and Mike Feist from West
Beautiful.
Side Story. Art, what are your must-watch lead performances from 2021?
We had so many good stuff this year. Let me break down the performances that stood out to me. Clifton Collins Jr. for Jockey.
Take a look. I mean, how many times have you broken your back?
I don't know, 3, I think.
I'm sorry, Jackson.
No, it's not your fault. There you go.
No, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Casey Roll for White Lie.
I'm not well, and this place could actually save me. I wouldn't be here asking you if it wasn't really important.
No, I can't loan you the money. And frankly, I'm not sure I would if I had it.
What do you mean?
I don't believe you.
Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
There is no flying hence, nor tarrying here. Ring the alarm bell! Blow, wind! Come back!
Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers.
La echaba de menos.
¿Quieres llevártela contigo?
No. Me tengo que acostumbrar. Y dormir. Tengo mucho sueño atrasado.
Seguro que te encuentras bien. Estás sudando.
Nicolas Cage for Pig.
The critics aren't real. The customers aren't real.
Okay.
Derek, why do you care about these people? They don't care about you. None of them. They don't even know you.
Yoka Gashi for Hive.
Neve nuk na vyn në ndimat as fundet. Neve na vyn puna. A nuk peshet që asnjëna nuk jena mira? Jam të dashur me nis një punë me krejt gratë e krushës. Me marruaj var për me shik.
Simon Rex for Red Rocket.
Yeah, my parents came home one night, y'all were humping in their bedroom. You jumped out the window, naked. They called the cops on you and everything.
Yep, now I remember. Oh shit, your mother hates me.
Well, I mean, she hated you, man. Yeah, she died.
Oh, damn, sorry to hear that.
Kristen Stewart for Spencer.
It seems they're circling just me. Not you, just me.
The thing is, Diana, there has to be two of you.
Renat Rensvi for The Worst Person in the World.
Vad heter du för något?
Julia.
Jag heter Eivind. Eivind.
Ikke si det.
Hvorfor ikke det?
For da bare finner jeg deg på Facebook, og så...
Ja. Det er lurt.
Ok?
Ok.
Ha det.
Ha det.
And my favorite performance of the year, I don't care who thinks it's over the top, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yes, that's great news.
Everyone is telling me the same thing. That Jonathan Lawson. I can't wait to see what he does next.
What do you mean? What I do next? What about Superbia?
I always told you it was a tough sell. It's too arty for Broadway. Tourists aren't gonna shell out $50 to see a show about spaceships and robots.
Well, that's not what it's about.
My picks for the best lead performances from 2021 are Will Smith in King Richard.
Okay, Mr. Williams,
Wait,
this
now,
is really not necessary.
Hold on. You want to check on the kids? Let's check on the kids. We got future doctors and lawyers, plus a couple tennis stars in this house.
Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers.
Por las dos somos madres solteras. Lo mío fue un accidente, pero estoy tan contenta.
Lo mío también fue un accidente.
Yo no me arrepiento, ¿eh?
Isabel Furman for The Novice.
Some of us have lives. Your mistake is that you always stick to what you're good at.
Rachel Sennett for Shiva Baby.
Here.
Oh, Mom, I can't eat that.
Why not?
I'm vegetarian.
You're killing me.
I've told you it so many times.
You have not eaten a single thing all day.
That's because we just got here.
You look like Gwyneth Paltrow on food stamps.
Oh my God.
And not in a good way.
Joaquin Phoenix for Come On, Come On.
You still love each other, but find it hard to express that love to each other. And so then you look at each other and you do this.
Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Tomorrow. And tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to the last.
Simon Rex for Red Rocket.
Can you get off the property, please?
Why? What are you gonna fucking do? Really?
What,
You're
you
not
want,
gonna let,
oh, you
really,
want me to call the cops? I'll call the cops.
Don't
No, I'm calling the cops. 10, 9, 8, 7, faster.
I'm technically off the property, so you can't call the cops because I'm on public land, respecting your boundaries.
Hidetoshi Nishijima for Drive My Car.
君はこう考えてる。僕たちは同じ悲しみを共有してる。同じ女を愛したから。
そんな僕のはただの一方的な憧れです。
君は音に恋をしていた。
否定しません。
Alana Haim for Licorice Pizza.
Alana doesn't have her life together. Alana brings home stupid boyfriends all the time.
I mean,
I knew it. I knew that was what you were thinking. You're always thinking things, you thinker. You thinker. You think things.
And Renate Renzive for Worst Person in the World.
Ja, jeg elsker det. Men jeg elsker det ikke.
Again, we have some more overlap than I was expecting, especially in some of our favorite stuff here with Simon Rex and Renate, I think, as the
top
biggest
two
overlap that we have on our list, although we both have some love for Penelope Cruz and some love for Denzel Washington.
Mm-hmm. Easily. I think we had an array of leading performances this year that I think were fantastic. And even when you get into the international categories, like this is a list that could have gone to 15. There's a list that could have gone to 20. But just compiling these, I love that you had Isabel Fuhrman for The Novice. That was a movie that was in a lot of my honorable mentions, right, in a lot of these categories that didn't just make the list right away. I really like the script on that one as well. Shout out Rachel Sennett for Shiva Baby. I had so many good performances here, but of course I would have had her in my top 15. But yo, Simon Rex, the actual worst person in the world, and then Renate for actually worst person in the world, I think are standout performances to have this year, and I'm glad to have them as the Intercut must-watch performances of 2021.
Hey Art and Zach, I thought that I could not get to this year's Oscars without talking of Kristen Stewart's performance in Spencer. I was just thoroughly mesmerized by the performance. There's this one moment when she jerks her arm off when in protest of her husband. There's this dining table scene. I was thoroughly taken by that scene. I wish her the win, and she's the winner for me.
Art, what are your nominees for the Best Director from 2021?
Oh man, look, another year where we had so many good visions. I'm gonna begin with Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. Meticulous choreography for a musical that he dedicated to his father. Julia Ducournau for Titan. Truly a multi-genre piece that I guess a lot of people would see as a body horror drama. But the stuff that she does is always above and beyond, and I'm always excited to see her new movie, even if I'm not ready for it. My number 2, though, I had to do it, man. Theo Anthony for All Light Everywhere. The way that he approaches documentaries is something that you and I have seen some recent docs and attribute it to be like, damn, that's something Theo Anthony would do. And that's when I realized that I really love this man's direction and the way that he was able to go through the history of surveillance, how it can affect communities, how it can be weaponized, and even warp our memories is insane. Watch the movie, watch his shorts. That's a doc filmmaker right there. But my number 1 for The Power of the Dog is Jane Campion. Everything they taught you in film school about directing, this woman has an entire Netflix making of series pitching you the opposite, and it's fantastic. I love her approach to actors. I love her approach to just the way she was able to build this setting, the way she was able to adapt those Western themes, and without a doubt, I truly believe that Jane Campion's work in The Power of the Dog was the best direction of last year.
My nominees for Best Director for 2021 are Denis Villeneuve for Dune, epic blockbuster filmmaking done like nobody else. Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, for bringing blocking back to the movie musical. We should all thank him. Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, a film that's not showy in its production, but it's hard to think of many people who could thread that needle of getting you to be completely entranced in this story for that duration, and by nailing the tone in a perfect way to give you the kind of emotional journey you need there. David Lowery for his pensive, anxious work in The Green Knight, marrying the epic scale of a knight's journey with the internal struggle of a much more indie production. I think it's a beautiful mix of the things that we know he can do well. But my number 1 pick for Best Director is Chaitanya Tamhane for his work on The Disciple, a mesmerizing, wonderful film that I think has been vastly overlooked, but it's working in so many beautiful levels, from how it's shot to how it sounds to the story it's telling and the acting. I think it's a complete film and an excellent achievement in cinema.
Beautiful. I think looking at it has to go to the one and only.
4-5.
Got to go to the one and only, man. Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. I mean, no other director has had images from behind the scenes that have been shared and memeified to death, and hopefully reminds people that, yes, it all starts in that pre-production, which, again, all of our favorite directors on this list have done. But I don't know anyone who does it like Steven does, man. There's a reason why his name is practically a verb now.
Exactly. Everybody else take note. Spielberg's the GOAT. All right, he's our must-watch director from 2021.
Keep an eye out for the man. He's got a future.
We could call it a career achievement.
Something like
he's earned it after. And it's the best film he's made in, I feel like, 20 years.
In a minute, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so my pick is going to be Julia Ducournau for Best Director for Titan. I think she directed the hell out of that film, and that movie is just truly stunning. I believe it's my favorite film in 2021. So I believe that she deserved the direction nod for what she did with that film. But thank you guys. Loving the podcast as always. Keep up great work.
Before we get to our best picture, we're going to talk about the up-and-comers from 2021. These are the names that are new to us or relatively new to us that have put themselves on the map with their work in 2021. Art, who are some of the names that we have selected here?
I'm going to start with El Planeta. This is a movie that's streaming right now on HBO Max that premiered at Sundance, and I wasn't really looking forward to it. And then it ended up being one of my favorites of the year that I have to give it a mention here, specifically for Amalia Ullman, who is a director and also the actress, and is starring alongside a real-life mother as they play a mother-daughter duo just trying to make it by in Spain. I am keeping my eye out on her for the next thing she directs or stars in. I really like her approach to the movie, and I would highly recommend putting it on your radar.
Another person that I think we wanted to highlight here is the duo from Shiva Baby of Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett for their work in just making this anxiety-invoking, claustrophobic family reunion awkward comedy. It's so precisely crafted and feels so confident in its approach that you know that there's going to be a lot more strong work coming from that voice.
A whole miniseries.
So both Emma Seligman for her work in putting together the film and Rachel Sennett for her work in bringing it to life, I think are firmly on our radar now.
I'm going to keep it to the duos. We had mentioned Zola several times. It needs to get another mention here. It's not Janisa Bravo's first film, but it's probably the biggest one that she has made, putting her out there, as well as Taylor Page. When we caught her in this movie, we knew, damn, she's going to be a star. She's had a lot of supporting roles, but this is a movie that I wish had a theatrical release when a lot of people are going into the theaters. I think it would have done some crazy numbers. It would have been a big cultural push right there, just the same way that the threads for the tweet were. But that duo, definitely put them on your radar. They have a very distinct style and a lot of talent. Zola.
I'm going to give a shout out as well to Together's Patty Harrison.
Yes.
She also recently appeared in The Lost City. So she is a comedic voice on the rise. Absolutely hilarious. Has some of my favorite sketches in one of our favorite sketch shows, I Think You Should Leave. But seeing her grow into a film presence has been really exciting. And I think we all want to see that continue to blossom.
It's crazy to think that that's her first lead, man. Yeah, I hope she gets more supporting roles, but definitely more lead roles as well. I'm going to wrap it with Prayers for the Stolen for the director Tatiana Hueso and the trio of actresses who played the young girls, in particular Anna, who's the lead. I thought they did a fantastic job with this movie. It even stars the main actor from the boy from what's it called, Non-Identifying Features. Like they're representing Mexico to a very high degree. It was in my top picks for international film, and I want to make sure that they're on the radar as the up-and-comers. The team from Prayers for the Stolen.
Excellent. And then I know we had a little mention for Sam Richardson here. It might be a little bit more familiar to TV audiences from Veep, the Detroiters, but he's really blown up into a movie star over the past year. You have Werewolves Within, The Tomorrow War, even his role in Promising Young Woman here. So it's very exciting to see him continue to blow up because he's such an affable presence in film.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the best pictures,
Go.
the must-watch movies from 2021. On my list, I have No Sudden Move, The Disciple, The Last Duel, Dune, West Side Story, Licorice Pizza, Come On, Come On, Drive My Car, The Green Knight, and The Worst Person in the World.
Solid picks, man. What a year of movies. For my must-watch picks, I have Drive My Car, The Green Knight, The Worst Person in the World, Mitchells versus the Machines, The Killing of Two Lovers, Compartment Number 6, All Light Everywhere, Tick Tick Boom, Dune, and my number one pick, The Power of the Dog. Solid year of movies. You can't say there isn't stuff out there. It was a
deep
stacked
roster.
year. Stacked year.
Very stacked year. And yeah, man, I mean, there's a lot of films that I thought are pretty brilliant works. A lot more contemplative stuff than I feel like I normally put on my best picture list. But, stuff that's really rewarding to pick apart and rewatch and analyze. So much that I love. I'm glad that you put in some indie picks here with Killing of Two Lovers and Compartment Number 6. I'm glad that you got some love to documentary with All Light Everywhere and animation with Mitchells versus the Machines. But I feel like where we overlap most is probably with The Worst Person in the World or The Green Knight, which I had at number 1 and number 2, but you have further down your list.
We also have Dune there, coming with a collective 9 together, and Worst Person in the World. I mean, I feel like we've had a couple ties for Dune and Worst Person in the World. To me, those are the two movies that you and I have discussed the most on this channel.
Absolutely.
It's just indicative of the passion for these two movies that we've had for a long time. I think you have a solid top 10 list. I love my 10 list. I own practically every single one of these movies, except for one, which is Worst Person in the World. So I am good with making it Worst Person in the World. I'm good with making it Dune and the runner-up be worst. To me, those are the top 2 picks of the year. Very drastically different films. I leave it to you, man.
Oof, man, that's tough. They're so different, and I'm almost inclined to go for a tie. But is that an anticlimactic way to end the first Intercut Awards? Is with a tie?
I guess.
Do we have to leave it to the Intercuties to vote? Should it be Dune or Worst Person in the World?
It's only fair that we're not the ones who decide everything on the show. And that if our collective one has come down to the Worst Person in the World and Dune, I'm a person that when they say you got to go to an island, you can only take one DVD, I'm putting both discs in one box. And I'd be bringing both of these with me.
Scratches be damned.
So as our top picks being Dune and Worst Person in the World, we leave it to the Intercuties. Probably even put a poll to discuss what is the best film out of those two. But even more than that, out of all the selections that we've had here, out of every single category, what are your picks for those? What are the must-watch performances that we did not give a mention to that should be on our radar? What are the categories that we didn't have on this video that you think should be honored, that you think should be given more of a presence to? I thought it was a fantastic year in movies. I think the best part of the year has been just the ability from the film festivals to our weekly most watches is being able to discuss every single one of these movies at the end of it. Because I think you agree a lot like me. I'm not a big ratings guy. I'm not even a big awards guy. I just love putting those movies on your radar so you know what it is. I was one who was telling Zach, I was like, Zach, let's make it 10 international. Zach, let's make it 10 docs. Our whole purpose for creating Intercut is to talk movies with you guys and to make sure that we put movies on your radar. It's not to say that what we deem number 1 is the only one you should be catching. If it was mentioned in this video, we believe you should watch it.
Yeah, I mean, the fun of awards for me has always been not the competition between different movies, but the chance to celebrate some of these great films, some of the great people behind them. I mean, if you're not using it as an opportunity to get excited about all the awesome art that's out there, then I think you're doing awards wrong. So hopefully we did it. We did it some justice here, and we've put some films on your radar or awarded some films that you already love. As Art said, please let us know what categories you'd add, what nominees you'd add, what winners you'd have. And thank you to all of you who've sent in your submissions with clips, with picks, with winners. It really helped, and I think hopefully made this video even more fun for all of you. But I think that's about all for this week's installment of Intercut. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. And check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/multiplex show. Art, where can people catch more from you?
You can find me over at Let Me Explain on Twitter, on YouTube, on Letterboxd, but you can catch me every week here talking about movies on the Intercut Podcast.
You can catch every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, your favorite podcast or whatever. I like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio feed, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod, where you can watch our bright smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut Podcast every Monday when we do our weekend must-watch. And please leave us a comment, like the video, and consider heading over to iTunes to give us that much-requested 5-star review. Shout out to our listeners in Kazakhstan for putting us on the TV and film podcast charts out there. I want to make a Borat joke, but I'm worried that would be offensive. Like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. Support our Patreon. All of them are at Intercut Pod to get updates throughout the week from Art, from me, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, remember, it's an honor just to be nominated.